Four of the world's biggest tech companies are working together to fight the spread of terrorism online. Facebook, Twitter, Microsoft and YouTube will share a database to flag and remove what they call violent terrorist imagery or terrorist recruitment videos, like these ISIS propaganda videos. The database will have digital fingerprints of the images and video, which will help the companies identify other terrorist content. Joining me now is tech expert and co-founder of StoryTech, Laurie Schwartz. Laurie, thank you for being with us.
It is great to be here.
I want to play you some sound from President Obama earlier on Tuesday. He specifically mentioned social media as the tool of choice by jihadi groups.
Yep.
For all of our necessary focus on fighting terrorists overseas, the most deadly attacks on the homeland over the last 8 years have not been carried out by operatives with sophisticated networks or equipment directed from abroad. They've been carried out by homegrown and largely isolated individuals who were radicalized online.
So how big is this problem right now?
It's huge. It's tremendous. I mean, there are so many different social media platforms and so many people creating fake accounts and so much activity, and it's so hard to track what's going on and where it's coming from. It's decentralized, right? And there are new social media platforms being born all the time, and messenger platforms, and it's just an explosion of tech right now. So it's very scary. So
it's like whack-a-mole in a way.
Yes, it really is.
Okay, so technically, how would this work? What these big tech companies are proposing, how does this actually work from just a technical point of view?
So basically there's an algorithm, just some software, and that software can basically sort through all of these images and videos, because each of them will have a little digital fingerprint. And they're actually calling it a hash, but it's just a digital fingerprint. And so when something gets uploaded, the algorithm goes through it and finds it and identifies it. Now, the thing that's interesting about all of this is that Facebook and Twitter and Microsoft and YouTube aren't going to automatically remove something just because it's on the database. They're each going to sort through against their own rules and judge it by what their platform has decided should be removed.
So you're saying this is where the human intervention comes into play? Is this when you have to make that decision, is this terrorist propaganda or is this just free speech? Yeah,
exactly. And I think that there's always going to be pushback from civil liberties on whether this is a First Amendment issue. But the thing about the First Amendment is a government issue. Facebook's allowed to say, this is okay to be on my platform or this isn't. You're still dealing with corporations that are determining what's right and what's wrong. And they're businesses who are set up to make money. So they're going to want to do whatever they can to keep their businesses running too.
Yeah, so Twitter, you don't have First Amendment rights on Twitter. It's like when going into someone's home, the person who owns a home decides what can be said and what cannot be said.
Right, yeah. Often I say, get out. To my relatives, but anyway.
Really? Come over to my place. Okay, the tech company said in a joint statement, there is no place for content that promotes terrorism on our hosted consumer services. When alerted, we take swift action against this kind of content in accordance with our respective policies. But European officials have actually been quite critical of the tech giants, basically saying they're not moving fast enough.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. I mean, Europe has the most violence, has had the most violence in the last 2 years around terrorist activity. And they're watching all of these companies move through this slowly while violence is happening. So they actually had a meeting of the European Commission, which is part of the EU, and they came out with a code of conduct. And that code of conduct basically said, you have 24 hours to remove hateful language. And again, it's a civil liberties issue, right? Because you can't just say, this is hateful language. There's other rules at play. So it's going to be a real battle, I think, between what these media companies say, what the government says, and what people say.
Okay, the companies have used similar databases in the past. For example, they used it to take down the child pornography industry.
Yes.
Could this technology, this database be used, I don't know, to take down those fake news sites?
I think that is probably going to be looked at, but that's going to have to be looked at very carefully because, again, who's to say what fake is?
It's pretty obvious.
Yeah, that's right.
But Laurie, thank you so much.
It's great to be here. Thanks for having me.
Appreciate it.